So I posted it and then I went to dinner and I didn't look at my phone again. And the next morning I woke up and it was everywhere. Because while the LinkedIn post went viral on its own, Jamie Lee Curtis's friend saw that post and sent it to her. And then she posted it to her then 5.6 million Instagram followers. She took it to another stratosphere that I never would have been able to do on my own.
Welcome to In Confidence, where what we share in confidence helps us grow in confidence. This week's micro moment challenge is called Compliment Ripple. Confidence starts with self-reflection and self-recognition, and then turning the page and recognizing others. I love compliments because they're not just about being kind. When you compliment someone, it creates a ripple effect of confidence and connection in that person's life that comes back to you in spades. My guest today is Erin Gallagher, the founder of the Hype Women movement, who takes this idea of compliment ripples even further. She calls it hyping, which is publicly amplifying and celebrating others to fuel trust and transformation. I love that Erin, who is my dear friend, joined us today because she's not only the CEO and founder of Hype Women, which is an exclusive ecosystem reminding women of who they are. She is the author of a brand new book, hot off the presses, Hype Women, Breaking Free from Mean Girls, Patriarchy, and Systems Silencing You. This book is an embodiment of the power of compliments and hyping in her own life, but then how you can do it for others. Let's listen in. Erin, welcome to In Confidence.
Okay, come on, we can't be that official. Hey girl, hey girl, hey.
I think we're going to use all of this, Erin, actually.
I know, we will. Come on, we will.
So I am beyond excited to spend the hour with you. And I do have to do some of the formalities, which are, and just, it seems so wrong to start this way, but we start every guest episode with our Gravitas signature question. What are you proudest of in the last 12 months of your life?
Writing a book.
Which we're going to talk about today.
Yes. There's been a lot of really wonderful and hard and transformative stuff that has happened in the past year, but I feel like it culminates and was sort of channeled through the writing of this book.
Okay, well, I'm excited that we're going to dig into it. Now, for those in our audience who don't know you as well as I know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you make a difference in the world?
Yes. So I am the CEO, founder, and now author of Hype Women. And Hype Women is the company that I started 3 years ago with the intention of helping to move women into positions of power and influence and to make more / all the money in the world. That was what I set out to do. And while that is still so much of the work that I do and I care about, what I have come to realize in the now 3 years since I started this work is that that was still very much my masculine energy leading and trying to be successful in this patriarchy and trying to help women navigate it. What I realize is now my way forward and what I'm really focused on is helping women heal themselves. Because when we can do that, all of these other pieces will come together and we will have a more sustained and sustainable approach. And so that's why I wrote the book. It's why I do the work that I do, is to help women remember who they are. You know, under all of the sort of limiting beliefs and naysayers and lies we've been told about ourselves, it's remembering at the core who we are and finding the women in your life who see that in you too and who want you to be as successful as they are.
I love this direction because I've known you for a few years now. And just let's double click on this idea of healing ourselves. What are all of the components in your mind around healing ourselves?
I've been afraid to say this because
You're not afraid to say anything, Erin.
well, but I think when we talk about healing, people kind of prickle and they get a little bit like, okay, what am I about to hear? What woo-woo shit are you about to deliver to me? What sort of self-help bullshit are you going to recommend I do to be something other than what I am? And so I think I've been afraid to really go hard on this.
Okay.
I'm getting there. And I mean, it's how I fucking talk about myself now. It's in the back of the book. So like, it's not like I'm shying away from it, but I'm recognizing the conditioning and the bias that exists when we talk about women healing themselves. I think that women's intuition is the most powerful emotion and tool on the planet. On the planet. It is why the world is so afraid of it. It is why the patriarchy is so intent on destroying our intuition, telling us that what we think happened didn't, that what we felt wasn't right. We misunderstood. We were too sensitive. That's not what they meant, right? When you're told that over and over and over again in your job, in your circle of friends, in your family, you stop trusting yourself. And so the work for me over the past 3 years, upon exiting the first company I co-founded, starting my current company, writing this book, has been in coming back to trusting myself again. And I think that when women start to do that, the people and the places and the programming that are holding us back start to fall away.
I truly believe that. I think the scorecard has been incomplete, has been stacked against us. In fact, we've got to expand that scorecard to include the feminine strengths that we bring to the table, because I've been made to feel bad my entire corporate career because I didn't fit the mold that wasn't created by me or for me. And on top of this, we need to support each other in getting it done. And that's what I think is so special about what you're doing is you've harnessed the power of the collective, which we're going to spend time talking about today. But you said, you don't have to do this alone. If we do this together, we get a chance to change the scorecard by which we define success.
We can't do it alone. In fact, we can't. We've been sold a lie that we can and should. And I know that you have felt this way before. I have felt this way before, that there is a little bit of this martyrdom to grit where you're like, I got this. I'm going to take care of this so that when I win, it will be because I did it. And also there's this other side of you that's like, I also don't want to ask for help because I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't want to be a burden. And so those are the things that keep us from getting the support that we actually need in order to make these changes that are necessary and to achieve what we deserve. We cannot do this alone and in silos. And men do this much more freely because they see themselves everywhere. They have an abundance mindset, not because they do a better job of living their life. It's because they see themselves everywhere. So they don't feel like Tim's success is going to detract from theirs. They're like, Tim and Jim and I all get to be rich together. Whereas women, especially in corporate America, and the higher you get up, you see less of you. And so you think, one of us ain't going to make it. And so this is now turned cutthroat. And so I'm going to hold my cards close to my vest, and I am not going to share my social and political capital in a way that I would if I thought we could do this together. So that's the conditioning that we have to recognize and break free from.
And so this is exactly the perfect segue into the story I want to share, which is 3 years ago, I was finishing my book. And chapter 8 was called The Sisterhood of Gravitas. And the chapter started off with, we're living in the fourth wave of feminism, which is very exciting, right? Wave 1 was, are we allowed to have bank accounts without a man attached? Are we allowed to be in the workplace? Wave 2 was the 80s and 90s. Can we have it all? Thank you to the millennials for Wave 3, Me Too, activism, speaking up. And then I was starting to write about this idea of the fourth wave of being abundance, that we don't have to compete, that we all ships rise together if we work together. And it was right around the time that you had done this very viral LinkedIn post about Jamie Lee Curtis hyping Michelle Yeoh's win at the Golden Globes. It was as if she had won, and she had nothing to lose in celebrating her friend Michelle. And so I remember reaching out to you on LinkedIn, thinking that you'll never get back to me, saying, hey, I'd like to use this particular passage from your LinkedIn post. My editor says I can only use so many characters without getting permission from you and whatnot. And by the way, could I just send you the chapter? You wrote back, and I need to go back through my LinkedIn threads because we have a lot of threads together.
Yeah, we do.
I think you wrote back within 24 hours, and you said, I don't know who you are, but absolutely. And you gave your blessing to the chapter. You then hyped it when the book came out. We met in person and came up with the idea for the shirts we're both wearing. We literally, I was like, should we donate to charity and make a product together in 3 months? And you're like, yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that.
And you have been the most generous and abundant force in my life. So I just wanted to go back in time, because when you talk about us being conditioned to compete with each other or to be jealous or to be envious of each other's successes, you embodied the exact opposite. And, when you walk the talk, every moment, you'll FaceTime me when I'm at the airport to share good news with me.
Oh, God, that was fun, right?
That was so fun. Remember, I was in DC and I was like, it's early, girl. And you're like, Jamie Lee Curtis just said she would be on our shirt. I was like,
she has sent her handwritten quote and signed it. And so here we go. Let's keep adding to all of the women that we've brought together. That's right.
Where did this come from? Where did this idea come from?
The idea of hype women?
Yeah, of us supporting each other as opposed to competing with each other. Where did that LinkedIn post come to you from?
I feel that it has been inside of me for a very long time. It's been the way that I live my life and the way that I work. I grew up on sports teams surrounded by women, and all of us were working towards a collective goal. We were unified in that. We won together, we lost together. So I learned what that felt like. There was no separateness in a team sport. That gave me a really good foundation. I also was a military kid. I moved around every 2 to 4 years my entire life. And so I had to come into new situations over and over again and not only establish myself, know who I am enough to tell other people, but identify who my friends were going to be, who is safe. So I got very good at an early age at analyzing a situation and unfortunately also being hyper vigilant. There's like two sides to the coin, where hypervigilance means that you are prepared and you sort of can see around corners and that you are good at assessing people and situations, but it's also really exhausting because if you're an empathetic person, you are picking up on other people's energies all the time. And I used to see and feel those energies as direction on what I needed to do. I now experience them and I witness them in a less attached way. This is the work of my 25 years of therapy and all of that. But how do you create a world around you of people that you're connected to, that support one another, that is healthfully done, right? That has boundaries, that has clear communication, and that is able to also change over time. Because I have found that the friends that aren't growing with me, I am growing out of. And if there are people who want you to stay the same way that you used to be, and that is no longer best for you, you have to walk away from them. So it's been Girl, it's been a journey, right? And you've really been front row to a lot of what's happened for me in the past few years. And I have seen your growth. And we've been super vulnerable with each other about what it is like to live in a world that is not built by and for us. And I say this, Lisa, as a straight white cisgendered woman, right? So I have this extra level of privilege because we live in a white supremacist patriarchy. And so I feel that it is my responsibility and my duty to use that power and privilege to stand in front of, beside, or behind women and amplify them.
And I love that you shared that journey, because there's something really special about the work you're doing, which is I want to surround myself with people who genuinely are excited to support my journey and success. And in turn, I want to amplify and boost them. And that's where we get the greatest outcomes. You and I have both talked about being in situations, whether it's amongst other women, amongst men, non-binary, where that has not been the case, where people have been actively trying to take us down or to make us feel less than because it improves their position or they're going to advance because of that. When you think about that from two, in terms of going from a place where you're hypervigilant all the time, right? You're worried about who's got your back and who doesn't, to a place where, hey, I have this group of people's backs and they have my back. How hard is that?
It is so fucking hard until it's easy.
Ooh.
So it required so much work and so much second guessing as I was learning to do it. Because again, the journey, the through line of the journey is trusting or not trusting my intuition. So if I look back on situations, especially the ones that you and I have talked about, and I look back on choices I made to engage with other women where I felt like something was off from the beginning, if I had listened, I would have saved myself a lot of pain. But even when I brought up my concerns, because I was recovering from not listening to myself and not trusting myself, the response was always like, no, that's not what it is. And I got convinced. I was sort of redirected and I was pulled back again away from what I knew to be true. And so it was very hard for a long time because I still viewed external validation as necessary to, like, I don't want to reuse a word because I hate that, but I'm going to validate my experience. I needed someone else to tell me that what happened in order for it to be valid. And when the people that you're asking or the people that you are sharing with do not have your best interest in mind, they will tell you a lie. And if you believe it, you get farther and farther away from yourself. So now, Lisa, what I mean when I say like it's gotten easier, I don't need anyone else to tell me that what I'm feeling is happening. I actually
trust yourself.
Girl, I don't need them to fucking agree with me. I don't need to be validated externally about what I know to be true. And that is so fucking powerful. And it is very disarming and disruptive to those that expect that you still need them to function.
Well, okay, that is the perfect segue to drum roll, please. I have an advance copy of your book, which by the time this episode airs, it will be out. But it actually translates perfectly into the subtitle, which I've got it in front of me. Hype Women, Breaking Free from Mean Girls, Patriarchy, and Systems Silencing You. So this all makes sense now as you talk about this being the culmination of 3 years of your work.
Yes, it's like, again, it's the people, places, and programming that are holding us back. We can look at the lot of our life. We can look at our 24 hours. And when you assess the interactions that you have, the people that you are giving your time and energy to, again, how do they make you feel? your instinct is the first response, and it is the most raw. Yes, of course, we all have to acknowledge that we have baggage and history and conditioning and all these things, and so you have to factor that in. But girl, I will tell you that, and I quote Maya Angelou multiple times throughout my book, when she said, when people show you who they are the first time, believe them. I mean, how many times did I ask if someone wanted to show me for the 15th time that they could be different, and they still showed up as that first time person? And I was like, yeah, I think this is just who they are. When you stop making excuses for people and you just witness their behavior and let that be it, it just saves you a lot of time. It saves you a lot of time because you get to say, hey, that's not mine. Whatever is happening over there is not mine. I hope you figure it out. I'm going to be over here continuing on. And when you have decided to address that, heal from it, whatever it is, we can come back together. But until then, it's not my job. It's not my job to shapeshift around your inappropriate, misguided behavior. And as women who grew up in corporate America, that was our entire job. Right? Like, you were at McKinsey forever. I was in agencies.
Yeah.
We were a part of a system that did not want us to remember who the fuck we were.
And you know, when I got a chance to read your book, there were a couple of themes that really stood out to me. I mean, there was, and what you're talking about, which I loved in the book, is around how do you serve yourself first? Because oftentimes women put themselves last. And so you spend a good part of the book talking about how do we honor ourselves first? And then there's this really helpful transition, and maybe you can talk about some of the lessons from it around, once I know myself better, once I have taken care of myself, taken back my body, taken back so much of who is authentically, truly myself, then how do I help others and how do I amplify others? Can you talk about kind of these two, almost, I felt like it was a duality of you got to put on your own oxygen mask first and get back to who you are. And then you have the power to share with others. Can you get into some of those lessons?
Yes. Women cannot stop lusting after and loathing other women's bodies and lives until they start loving their own.
Ooh, okay.
Okay? So, we will always be jealous of what other women have done in this world, who they have, what they have, until we are good with ourselves. So, we have to make a choice about whether or not we're going to keep living in that space of every interaction being a comparative exercise. Or we can handle the fact that we are two separate entities that are not in competition. And so someone else achieving something is not directly related to me. And then the other piece is we're not going to flip this switch overnight. So we're not going to go from having that be the way that our operating system works because we've been conditioned to do that to all of a sudden being 180 degrees different. So we do have to give ourselves grace and compassion as we push through it and out of it. So I'll give you a really great example just in this book writing process and the experience of trying to get an agent, trying to get a publisher, and you were so unbelievably supportive and helpful and gave me all of the tips that you had learned, which again, right, that's a sharing of human capital and political capital that not every woman does. Because you could have been I don't want her to know. She should have to go through what I went through.
No, I want you to be a bestseller and I want you to not make my mistakes. I literally called you for an hour and a half while I was in Miami. I was like, let me tell you all the things that I made mistakes on.
You did. So, but I think give yourself immense credit. You are a hype woman through and through. That is not the experience of every woman because again, if it's a comparative exercise, and if I suffered, you should have to, then you wouldn't want to do that, because you'd be like, figure it out for yourself. However, what happens when we don't do that, and instead we say, I learned this, you actually go farther because of what I shared with you, and then you bring me with you for the next thing, and I go farther, and then we keep doing that. Like, that's the shift. And so in this book writing process, Wiley's my publisher, and they're kind of like a little bit of an underdog. They're not one of the big five. You had a big five. And Nidhi Tiwari, one of my friends, posted that she had signed a deal with Penguin Random House. And my first feeling was, Nidhi got fucking Penguin Random House? That was my first thought. How did she get Penguin Random House? Why didn't I get Penguin Random House? And then I sat with myself and I said, what is going on here? What is this really about? What is so often underneath those first feelings of jealousy or resentment is desire. Right? This was really about the fact that I wanted to be wanted by them, and I wasn't. And so I was hurt. But I could also, in real time, integrate my lesson and my learning and my growth and say, this isn't about her. This is about me. And so hype is an act that you can do immediately to rewire your brain. Whew. So instead of me feeling and simmering in my house going, how the fuck did Nidhi get Penguin Random House? I'm so pissed. And every time I see her post about it, I'm going to feel more and more anger. And you know what? I'm probably going to talk shit about her to someone else to be like, I can't believe she got it. Why didn't I get it? Instead of going that path, which we all have done, I reached out to her and I said, I'm so fucking proud of you. You deserve this. This is amazing. I posted about it on every social media platform I had. I pre-ordered the book. And when I did that, I started to rewire my brain and I started to replace the cortisol with endorphins. And then guess what happened, Lisa?
What happened?
Nidhi said, well, if we're being honest, when I saw that you got a good deal with Wiley, I was hurt.
Oh.
And I of course was like, I'm sorry, what's a good deal? Like, I didn't even know the terminology, and like, it's, all these different weird like words tell you, the range of a person's advance. So she said that, and I said, okay, now we're getting there. You and I could have ended up hating each other. Yeah. And pulling away from each other and not knowing that we were sort of like in a fight that wasn't really a fight. And we could have got pushed away. That is what the system does to us. Mm-hmm. But instead, we both came forward and said, here's what was happening for me that had nothing to do with you. And your success doesn't detract from mine. And so we have been in each other's face, hyping each other along the way. This is the shift.
That's how we're going to break free. I yes to all of that, Erin. And, as you were talking, there were a couple things that are in your book that really stood out to me, because I do think it does mean you have to be okay with yourself first. You have to not only sit with your best thoughts, but your darkest thoughts, which your example, you sat with it. You were like, why am I feeling this way? And you process that. I think most of us don't. We jump straight to the envy, the comparison, the external validation that you spoke to previously, which is the system talking to us. It's like we're all plugged into the matrix. Versus, I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to honor myself. I'm going to serve myself first. And then I'm going to do the right thing, because someone else's success breeds the fertile ground for my success and other people's success as well. That's the way the boys are doing it, right? I always say, I don't need the old boys club. I got the sisterhood.
That's
and
right.
It's that much more powerful if we honor that. Can I share with you something? I try to live your philosophy. I do try to live your philosophy. I don't always win at it. There are times where I do feel envy, and I go to myself, okay, well, number one, that person has problems too. We only see 10% of that person's life on social media, so I know they got problems too. And second thing is, I like my own life. I really do have a lot going on that I'm proud of, right? So I do that self-soothing. And then I will do what you did, is I'll reach out to that person to help them. Every single time, that person is shocked. that, and maybe we can talk about that conditioning, because I met somebody recently that we're connected through a mutual friend, and I offered her some assistance, and she said, "Are you really that nice? Like, who are you?" Like,
it's what's the catch? What's the catch?
And I was like, "No, you just seem like I've struggled with this too, and it's like when I called you and I was like, hey, I'm walking in Miami. Would you like to talk an hour and a half about the book process?"
Yes.
And everyone in the back of their mind goes, is there something wrong with Lisa? Like, she's going to come back and ask me for something, which I don't. You know that I don't. Mm-hmm. Why do people have that reaction when you do the courageous and collaborative thing?
It's likely because they've been burned before. And so if your experience has been in the past that someone is coming to you when you're shiny, or when like maybe even you're struggling, and in the past that has been a manipulator who has used your vulnerability against you, it is a scary, concerning activity to engage in, right? Because you're just not quite sure. So like when you said, right, when you have those moments where you're having that feeling, you're feeling jealous, you're just kind of starting to feel like envy, any of those stressful, anxious thoughts, the first thing to do, as you said in the self-soothing process, is to say, of course I feel this way. I have been conditioned my entire life to feel this way. It is not my fault, but it is my opportunity and my responsibility to make a different choice. So we have to remove the shame and the blame, because if we don't, like that, any hype or any outreach is going to leave a bad taste in our mouth, because it's not going to be done from a truly genuine place. It's going to be done from I'm trying to get out of this feeling I'm having. But instead, we need to say, yeah, this is exactly how this system wants me to feel. I'm in the matrix. And so this is exactly how it's supposed to go, and I'm going to glitch. I'm going to break this pattern with this behavior. And then by you doing that outreach that you do to all of these women, you are showing them a new way forward, and you're giving them a guide. And I guarantee the ripple effect, right, with your little puppy, the ripple effect is that they now are more trusting of good people, and they are also more willing to extend their hand to provide support. But with all of that said, Lisa, I am not here to hype all women.
Ooh, say more about that.
That is hard for some people to hear, and it's confusing, because if something is going down and I see it and I call it out and I address it, and they're like, how could you say that? Like, I thought you were a hype woman. You know, she's a woman too. Okay. Not all women deserve hype. There are a lot of women in this world who are foot soldiers to the patriarchy. And a lot of them look like me. They are straight, white, cisgendered women. And so you do have to, again, go back to that intuition. How do you feel around someone? How do they make you feel when you first engage, when you are working together or you're socializing? You know, who are the women? I always find this to be interesting. You have women who, when you're talking to them in a social setting, they're with you, they're paying attention, they're listening to your story, they're asking more questions, they're vulnerably sharing. And then you have the women that are looking through you and around the room as you're talking, because they're like, there might be something better out here. Ooh. And I used to feel like my job was to convince them that I was worthy to be talked to. And so it actually was like, it kind of fueled a fire under me, like, oh, she doesn't think I'm worthy, so I must not be good enough, one. And then how do I make her know that I'm good enough? Now I'm like, fuck off. Go find someone else to talk to. I'm going to go get a drink over there. Like, literally don't need to do this with you. And so it's really important to be able to decipher You have to be able to decipher the difference between a mean girl and a hype woman. Because if you don't, you will spend a significant amount of your time and energy on the wrong people, and they will steal that energy from you over and over again until you are left with nothing.
So there's almost a bridge that you're talking about, which is honor ourselves first, trust our intuition, really figure out who you want in your sisterhood. And for that group of women, do everything you can for the collective success of that group. And I love this middle step because one of my dear friends, Jane Park, I'll struggle with someone and she'll say, Lisa, stop shopping at that store. Nothing fits there for you. I'm like, oh, but like, blah, blah, blah. No. Like, she's a medium friend now. She does not need to be inner circle. We can, it's like that TV show, Good Place, how there's the bad place, the good place, and then there's a medium place. It's kind of like it's like, that person's now in your medium place. Stop shopping there.
That's right.
Okay. She's like, you can be polite to that person, but that's not someone who gets your energy anymore. That's a really interesting distinction. Hi, I just want to remind everyone around a little special feature on season 3. We're calling it a little bit of a bonus to celebrate our training plan for confidence. We want everyone to take on the last quarter challenge. So each week on Tuesday, when the episode drops, I will be posting on my LinkedIn, Lisa L. Sun. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll be posting the challenge. And if you like that post and you comment on how you've embraced that challenge, how it's made a difference for you, you'll be entered to win a gift that week. So we'll be picking a winner each week. And then if you complete all 10 challenges by the end of the season, if someone actually goes on and likes and posts on all 10, you'll be entered to win a grand giveaway in December. I hope you'll join me in embracing the last quarter challenge. Follow me on LinkedIn and join in on the fun. And hey, this is the perfect transition to this season of our podcast. Season 3 is a training plan for confidence. And every week we're going to release what we call almost like a micro challenge, like a micro moment, something that anyone can do this week that will ladder them up to being stronger, to growing. And then that's on Tuesdays. And then each Fridays we have a guest come on and talk about this challenge. And when we chose this week's challenge, it was like Erin Gallagher is the only person that can talk about this challenge. So
excited.
Let me give it to you. It's called the compliment ripple. Here we go. Compliments may seem small, but science shows they light up the reward centers of the brain for both the giver and the receiver. This isn't about empty praise or being nice. It's about seeing people clearly and giving voice to their progress, which strengthens trust and confidence on both sides. It can have a private view where I can send you a message that says, I see you doing this hard thing, and I just want you to know you're being seen. It can also have, and this is how you and I got connected, a public-facing element where you share your high regard with others. I could not think of a better person to talk about this week's challenge. When you hear the phrase compliment ripple, what does it mean to you?
It's hype. I mean, it immediately makes me think of hype because a compliment requires an act. You are transferring a feeling and a positive acknowledgement and witnessing of someone to them. You can't compliment someone in your head. That's a thought. That's not a compliment. So a compliment is an act. It's why I believe hype is so powerful. We have a lot of people who quietly admire. And quiet admiration don't help shit. Right? When you're sitting there watching someone throw themselves into the ring and do the hard thing, and you are sitting in your house safely thinking, it's so great for them. They're doing such a good job. It's really not helping. Hype, compliments require an act. And so my challenge to your listeners would be, I think of hype as 4 different areas of capital that we all have the ability to deploy at any given moment. It's human, it's social, it's financial, and it's political. And so you can hype anyone using those 4 areas of capital at any time. So let's just use you and me as an example. So Lisa writes a book. I hype her book with my financial capital by buying it. I hype Lisa's book with my social capital by posting about it across all of my platforms that I have grown and built. I hype Lisa's book using my political capital by using any power and influence I have in engagements, conversations, people I know, like questions I'm asked about what I'm reading to hype Lisa's book.
You included it in your Hype Women book club. That was one of your first books.
I included it in my Hype Women book club. And then I asked you to hand inscribe and sign a copy for Jamie Lee Curtis, and I mailed it to her. Mm-hmm. Right? So that was another use of my political capital. Thank you for reminding me of that. Mm-hmm. And then human capital is you and I get on the phone and we share with each other our experiences as entrepreneurs, as small business owners, as authors, as movement creators. And so none of that is quiet, passive admiration. It's hype. And so I would encourage everyone to identify one of those areas that they could make a deposit into another woman with today.
That is the perfect segue into the question about, can you share a story where hyping someone created an unexpected ripple effect in your own life? I feel like I know which story you're going to tell. It's the story everyone knows, but can you just, for those who don't know it?
Yes. Do you want me to tell the Jamie Lee Curtis
Yes,
story?
can you? Because it's like, it's iconic. Yeah. It's like you had nothing to lose or gain other than you really wanted to admire someone publicly.
Well, and it's also, you want to talk about the ripple effect. I mean, and then I can sort of say what has happened, what has transpired in the past 2 years because of that. So on January 11th, 2023, I saw a photo from the night before of Jamie celebrating Michelle Yeoh after she was awarded Best Actress for her role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And in the photo, Jamie is screaming with her arms outstretched, and Michelle has her head in her hand. And so without context, you think Jamie must have won something. What is happening here? And what you don't know, and what we come to learn because Jamie shares this with us, is that not only was it the first time that Michelle Yeoh won an award for her storied, more than 4-decade-long acting career, it was the first time she was ever nominated. So she was nervous. And right before they went to commercial break, before they were going to come back and announce it, she was nervous. And Jamie was like, picked up on it and said, "What's going on?" And then she shared, "This is the first time I've been nominated." And Jamie was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Couldn't believe it. So when she won, she was so excited for her because it was like everything had come to that moment. And what I thought and felt when I saw this photo was, wow, we so rarely see a woman celebrating another woman's success as if it were her own. So publicly, so unabashedly. And so that was the post that I wrote. I was meeting my friend Asia Starday for dinner. I was early. I saw the photo. I opened up my LinkedIn app and I just started writing, "Ladies, this is our vibe for 2023. Unabashed hype women. We are going to decondition from what we've been taught, that women are a competition, that they're a threat. It's a lie. It's a trap. It's meant to keep us keeping each other down. We're gonna fight that, and we are going to do the opposite." And so I posted it, and then I went to dinner, and I didn't look at my phone again. And the next morning, I woke up, and it was everywhere. Because while the LinkedIn post went viral on its own, Jamie Lee Curtis's friends saw that post and sent it to her, and then she posted it to her then 5.6 million Instagram followers. Yep. She's now at like 6.3 million. And so what Jamie did in that moment was she transferred her social and political capital to me and poured kerosene on the fire that I had started.
Yeah.
She took it to another stratosphere that I never would have been able to do on my own.
And that's what happens when you take a thought and put it into action. And that, talk about a ripple effect. And I know she wrote the foreword to your book. So this is why I think this micro challenge this week means so much to me, because it can be small. And, I have one friend who every 2 weeks just sends me a text message with something really nice that they observed about me. And I might not see this person for 6 or 7 months at a time. And I always text back saying, I really needed to hear that today. Like, I was feeling really bad about my day, and you just created a ripple effect in my whole day. And I think about you doing that, and then Jamie doing that, and then just the butterfly effect. And I know there's butterflies on the cover of your book, right? The butterfly effect of when we do this. Why do some people dismiss compliments as just being nice? Because I think they matter so much more than that.
Because you don't believe them.
Ooh, say more about that.
If someone tells you a beautiful truth about yourself, but you don't believe it, you think it's a lie. So it's very difficult to accept a compliment from someone about something that you don't think is true. On the reverse side, think of all of the lies we've been told about ourselves over and over again, that we believe are truths.
Oh, okay. And this comes full circle back to where you started the conversation, is when we heal ourselves, we actually are able to receive those compliments and pay those compliments to others, right?
That's
that
exactly
actually.
Right? It's you can't receive a compliment if you don't believe it. And you can't give a compliment if you don't have a strong enough sense of self that you don't think that hyping someone else could steal joy that is meant for you.
Okay. I love that. So if we want this compliment ripple to happen, we have to really see ourselves and then see other people fully and convince them that what we're seeing in them is true.
That's correct, right? And listen, you're not going to be able to do all of those things in one exchange.
One text message.
Right? Especially if there is a deeper requirement for some self-healing and getting under the layers. But you can do your part, right? Which is to say, I see this in you. I hope you can see it in yourself. I'm going to tell it to you, and I want you to figure out what you want to do with it. But by doing it, I'm feeling so much warmth because I do believe it about you. And I know that this isn't a comparative exercise. So that it removes the scarcity. The scarcity mindset is a joy killer because it feels like everything is in competition with each other.
So an abundant mindset, an opportunity mindset is really required for this.
It's required.
Now, you are one of the most eloquent people on the planet. You are the most beautiful writer. I often think to myself, she just weaves thoughts and ideas together in the way that no one else can. Who's somebody you want to compliment in their life today? I'm just curious, how would you construct a compliment for someone today? Other than me, though. You can't compliment me anymore. You've already done it enough in this episode.
I was going to. So.
Pick someone else that you can publicly compliment.
Okay. So Nisha Ganatra is the director of Freakier Friday, right? An Indian woman director of a Hollywood film, already in a very small category, who produced and directed a incredibly successful film that earned back the $45 million that it invested in creating it, producing it, and then got it to, just over that 100 million mark in the first couple of weeks. Guess what happened on Thursday of last week?
What happened last week?
She reached out to me and she said, can you help bring the Hype Women movement to this film to help us get over the next mark this weekend?
Love that.
Because in order for us to prove that women-led films matter, because this film is women-led across the board. I'm talking like producer, director, writer, editor, lead camera, second camera, lead actresses, composer, cable monkey, like stunt women. I mean, just it's costume designer. Like it's very intentionally putting women in the roles they deserve to be in. And yet we still are always trying to prove ourselves inside of a system that's not built by and for us. And so I dropped everything on Thursday to figure out how I was going to catalyze this moment and alchemize what they had already done. And so I pulled together a campaign, for lack of a better word, to get women to theaters this weekend, and also to remind them that they didn't even physically need to go as much as we just needed to put our financial capital into the movie by ordering the tickets, because women are incredibly busy. We carry $10.9 trillion in unpaid labor on our backs every single year. And to remind us how powerful we are when we make this decision to come together to do this. And I said, here's how you're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to hype each other. And then I did a collab post with Jamie Lee Curtis on this and pushed it out. And within 48 hours, it had 500,000 impressions. So it was definitely getting into places. I had women texting me saying, girl, I'm at the theater. Or, girl, I couldn't go, but I bought tickets and I sent my admin, like whatever, right? We were all actually using our financial capital to move this. And they hit the $150 million mark. Now, Lisa, did I do that? Did hype women do that? It doesn't fucking matter. We don't have to figure out and break it all down and point fingers or not accept choices or whatever it looks like. Here's what happened. We used our capital. I used my social capital, I used my political capital, I used my human capital, and I poured it into it. I used my financial capital. And I asked other people to do the same. And that's what this movement is about. It can be used in every situation to collectively bring us together, to make a difference, and to show how powerful women are. And so I am hyping her because that was brave of her to ask for help.
Yeah.
That was the most important part of this entire story. It wasn't that I created this post that was like interesting enough that it got a lot of views and that Jamie was gracious enough to say, I will collab with you on it. It was that as the director of the film, who already had made over $100 million, she still knew she needed help and she asked for it.
Oh, that is too good. Too good.
That's the only way we're going to win. It's the only way we're going to win.
And by the way, I love that the word you used was alchemize, because you have a section in the book about the alchemist, which I freaking love. We can turn metals into gold.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. we are witches.
Yes.
We are witches.
So I want to close out with a question that's a bit more personal. You know, you've built this movement around amplifying others. As you think about hyping others, how has it changed your own life and your own views of yourself?
It has made me feel less alone. It has made me feel safer to express my vulnerabilities. It has made me less angry. Anger was an incredibly powerful tool and emotion that I used to protect myself. And it didn't mean that I went around being angry at people, but it did mean I went around being angry about the patriarchy. And a lot of my energy and my way of working and my way of engaging led with that. And so I have really shifted into a much softer era, and one where my feminine intuition and my feminine energy is actually the lead on all choices I make. in a way that I used to be really afraid to do that out in the world. I was okay with doing it behind the scenes and inside and like with really close friends, but like much more afraid to let that be what I showed. But the act of hyping, the act of being hyped, the act of like telling the truth and not disappearing into the ether, it has really shifted what I know to be true about myself.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And I can firsthand witness the fact that being your friend, being able to hype you and be hyped by you has made me feel all the same things, much less alone, much more connected, much higher likelihood of hitting all the milestones and goals we want in our lives. So
That's right.
I'm deeply grateful to be your friend, Erin.
I love you so much, honey. I'm
I
so
love
grateful.
you too.
I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much. One line that really struck me in this conversation was Erin's reminder that you cannot compliment someone in your head. That's just a thought. A compliment is an act. And so I love that she got our challenge this week, because thinking something really lovely about another person, but then taking the time to turn it into action, whether it's texting them, telling them, or publicly acknowledging them, that is the ripple effect we are trying to achieve. Erin is real, she's generous, she's wise, and she's the kind of person who always walks the talk. And I feel like that is the embodiment of a compliment ripple. She embodies hype and she celebrates other women like their wins are her own. It makes everyone want to do the same. So I hope you'll take a moment to really embody this week's micro moment. It's so powerful. Turn admiration into action. Spot it, specify it, send it out into the world. Within 60 minutes of noticing something good, tell that person what you saw. It could be a quick text, a comment, a post, or a call. If you feel a pang of jealousy, remember Erin's reframe. Jealousy hides desire. So use it as a signal to hype that person instead. Sit inside of it and do the thing that creates the most power in the world. That's how we alchemize comparison into connection and scarcity into abundance. If you want to dive deeper, Erin's new book, Hype Women, Breaking Free from Mean Girls, Patriarchy, and Systems Silencing You, is out now. We'll link it in the show notes. And as always, I want to hear from you. So who did you compliment this week? What happened? What ripple effect did you create? Share it with us on social media at Gravitas New York, at Lisa L. Sun. And I hope you're leaving this space stronger than the way you entered it. If you love this episode, share it with someone who needed to hear it today. Subscribe so you never miss a moment of inspiration. And in the words of my 9-year-old self, I see you, I value you, and I believe in you. This is In Confidence.